Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and today Horror Across America is going to be rolling through Iowa and Kansas. I am not sure how many books I have here, so that being said, let's go ahead and get underway. So the first one, I actually have to thank Regina at Regina's Haunted Library. She sent me this the picture of this one. She said, hey, I think this one takes place in Iowa, and it does. So the first one we're going to talk about is Blood Farm, and this is by Sam Siciliano. Hitchhiking back to college, Angela accepts a ride in a hearse, and together with the driver, Mike, experiences a night of terror at the hands of their vampire host at Blood Farm. And that is Blood Farm, and that is by Sam Siciliano, all right? So thank you again, once again, Regina, for suggesting this one. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have got The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion, and this is by Margaret Killjoy. All right. Searching for clues about her best friend's mysterious suicide, Danielle ventures to the squatter utopian town of Freedom, Iowa, and witnesses a protector spirit in the form of a blood-red, three-antlered deer begin to turn on his summoners. She and her new friends have to act fast if they're going to save the town or get out alive. And that is The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion, and that is by Margaret Killjoy. Very brief synopsis on those first two books, all right? Okay, next up we have got Snow, and this is by Ronald Malfi. They come in with the snow. They are the snow. The blizzard begins pummeling the Midwest on Christmas Eve, leaving hundreds of passengers stranded at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. Todd Curry doesn't need another reason to disappoint his son, so he joins three other people in renting the last four-wheel drive available, and they set out into the blinding snow. Only 2 hours into the treacherous trip west, Todd swerves to avoid a man in the middle of the highway. The stranger claims his daughter is lost somewhere out there in the snow. Though his odd demeanor and ripped clothes make Todd and his group uneasy, they agree to take the man to the nearest town, if the now damaged car can make it. What awaits them at the next exit, however, is nothing they could have imagined. Around an empty town square, fires burn, cars are abandoned, storefronts are smashed, and there is no one to be seen, for now. But soon the shadows lurking on the edges of their vision will step into the light, and Todd and his fellow travelers will find themselves facing a sharp-scythed evil, a sharp-scythed evil shaped from the snow, tearing its way into human form and taking the neighborhood by storm. And that is Snow, and that is by Ronald Malfi. And excuse my little tongue tie there just a few minutes ago, or just a few seconds ago. All right, next up we have got Universal Harvester, and this is by John Darnielle. It's the late 90s, and you can find Jeremy Helt at the Video Hut in Nevada, Iowa, a small town in the center of the state. The job is good enough for Jeremy, quiet and predictable, and it gets him out of the house, where he lives with his dad, and where they both try to avoid missing Mom, who died 6 years ago in a car wreck. But when a local school teacher comes in to return her copy of Targets, an old movie starring Boris Karloff, the transaction jolts Jeremy out of his routine. There's something on it, she says as she leaves the store, though she doesn't elaborate. 2 days later, another customer returns another tape and registers the same odd complaint. There's another movie on this tape. In Universal Harvester, the once placid Iowa fields and farmhouses become sinister, imbued with loss and instability and foreboding. As Jeremy and those around him are absorbed into tapes, they become part of another story, one that unfolds years into the past and years into the future, part of an impossible search for something someone once lost that they would do anything to regain. And that is Universal Harvester, and that is by John Darnielle. All right? Okay, we are out of Iowa and we are moving into Kansas now. And the first one we're going to talk about with Kansas is The Neighbors, and this is by Anya Allborn. Andrew Morrison sacrificed everything, his childhood, his education, and the girl of his dreams to look after his alcoholic mother. But enough is enough, and now he's determined to get out and live his life. That means trading the home he grew up in for a rented home in the house of an old childhood friend, both of which are in sorry shape. The only thing worse than Drew's squalid new digs and sullen new roommate is the envy he feels for the house next door. A picture-perfect suburban domicile straight out of Norman Rockwell, with a couple of happy householders to match. But the better acquainted he gets with his new neighbors, especially the sweet and sexy Harlow Ward, the more he suspects unspeakable darkness beyond the white picket fence. At the intersection of Blue Velvet and Basic Instinct lies The Neighbors, an insidiously entertaining tale of psychological suspense and mounting terror by the boldest new master of the form, Anya Allborn. And that is The Neighbors, and that is by Anya Allborn. Okay, next up we've got Burden, Kansas, and this is by Alan Riker. Vampires are not sexy or sensitive. Hungry, bloody, and stinking of the grave, they hunt the dry Kansas plains, taking what they want until they cross rancher Keith Harris. Keith is a damaged man who's always made the hard decisions others couldn't. As the two forces battle for survival, the lines between man and monster begin to blur. How much of a community's burden of sin can one man take on before becoming a monster himself? With Burden, Kansas, Alan Riker provides a contemporary novella of vampire horror written in the minimal voice of the Western. Burden, Kansas is more entertaining, disturbing, and thought-provoking than you thought a vampire Western could be. And that is Burden, Kansas, and that is by Alan Riker. And unfortunately, I could not find a large enough cover photo for this one, so I apologize for that. But yes, we are talking about Burden, Kansas by Alan Riker. All right. Okay, next up we've got Red Station by Kenzie Jennings, and this is part of the Death's Head Press Splatter Western series. I have read this one. I love this one because I love the female protagonist in this, Clyde. Yes, that is her name. It is Clyde, or is it Claude? Clyde or Claude? I can't remember. I believe it is Claude, but I may be wrong. But anyway, she reminded me a lot of the character played by Sharni Vinson in the movie You're Next. I mean, this character is a pure badass. Anyway, let me give the synopsis for you, okay? There is a house overlooking the vast rolling plains, a home station where a traveler will be welcomed with a piping hot meal and a downy bed. It is a refuge for the weary, a beacon for the lost, a place where blood and bones feed the land. For 4 stagecoach passengers, a doctor in search of a missing father and daughter, a newlywed couple out on their way to their homestead, and a lady in red with a bag filled with secrets. Their night at the station has only just begun. And that is Red Station, and that is by Kenzie Jennings. Alright. Alright, the next 2 books and the final 2 books are both going to be by Scott Thomas. First one we're going to talk about is Violet. Alright. For many children, the summer of 1988 was filled with sunshine and laughter. But for 10-year-old Chris Barlow, it was her chance to say goodbye to her dying mother. 3 decades later, loss returns, her husband killed in a car accident, and so Chris goes home to the place where she first knew pain, to that summer house overlooking the crystal waters of Lost Lake. It's there that Chris and her 8-year-old daughter will make a stand against grief. But a shadow has fallen over the quiet lake town of Pacington, Kansas. Beneath its surface, an evil has grown, and inside that home where Chris Barlow last saw her mother, an old friend awaits her return. And that was Violet, and that is by Scott Thomas. All right. Okay, last but not least, we have got Kill Creek, and this again is by Scott Thomas also. At the end of a dark at the end of a dark prairie road, nearly forgotten in the Kansas countryside, is the Finch House. For years it has remained empty, overgrown, abandoned. Soon the door will be opened for the first time in decades, but something is waiting, lurking in the shadows, anxious to meet its new guest. When best-selling horror author Sam McGarver is invited to spend Halloween night in one of the country's most infamous haunted houses, he reluctantly agrees. At least he won't be alone. Joining him are 3 other masters of the macabre, writers who have helped shape modern horror. But what begins as a simple publicity stunt will become a fight for survival. The entity they have awakened will follow them, torment them, threatening to make them a part of the bloody legacy of Kill Creek. And that was Kill Creek, and that is by Scott Thomas. So that is it. That is the Horror Across America tour of Iowa and Kansas. Next up, we are going to be doing Kentucky. I may combine Kentucky and Louisiana. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking that is what I'm going to do, okay? I apologize for the parts of this video where I get tongue-tied, or what happens is the words on the page get ahead of my brain, or my brain gets ahead of the words on the page. I apologize for that. I apologize for tripping over my own tongue so many times, but that's just the way I am. I don't edit these videos except to do the pictures popping up and things like that, and the intro. So basically what you see is what you get from me, alright? Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and once again, take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.